Welcome to the Australian Lawn and Garden Podcast. We were always talking. And we have Simon in here, live, in person. And I've told him that if you're listening to this and you've seen the title, you already want to know about Masport. So, you know, it's obviously a very well-known brand in Australia. Lots of people are interested in it. We were just holding this. I'm going to show this up to the camera. It's a Gearbox from a Contractors series, right?
Yep.
It's heavy. It's heavy duty. I don't know anything about gearboxes, right?
Yep.
But what are the stuff that makes this different, or what is the stuff that you're trying to achieve, I guess, with a gearbox like this?
Well, I suppose the reason we went for a gearbox like this is just to really have something that's going to be bulletproof for the contractors. They're not going to have to worry about it failing. So it is a very heavy-duty gearbox here. So this is a genuine 3-speed transmission. It's a constant mesh gear with a metal cone clutch. All the gears, bearings, everything sit in an oil bath, so it's constantly lubricated. You can feel by the weight how heavy it is. It's got a splash feed within it. It's an all metal housing. It is belt driven, which is
what goes there.
Yep. So that's a little bit different to what else is on the market. There's a lot of competitors use a shaft drive system. One advantage of this system here is if anything's going to break, it's going to be the belt. So it's a very inexpensive repair.
Yeah.
But the transmission itself, we've had no failures of. When we first introduced the transmission to the market, we did have a couple of axles break, and you can see just on here how thin the walls are where the pole would go through.
Yep.
So we had some instances where contractors may just drop it off the back of a trailer onto the ground, and it would fatigue that point there.
Right. Yep.
So early on we had a couple of issues there. We then changed that to a smaller pin, which left more meat on the axle, and ever since then we've had a fantastic run with those transmissions. Very, very few issues.
So do you find because I look at this and I wouldn't know where to start on how to develop anything, and it's like I don't know, how many parts would there be? 70?
Oh, probably, yeah.
Like, just looking at this, I can't show this too well on the camera, unfortunately. And most people listen anyway, so most people aren't even watching. But basically what this is, people, is it's like we have a gearbox and they've cut out the side. So you could probably buy this gearbox as a spare part, I'm assuming.
Yes, so the transmission comes from a company called GT Transmissions. I think that particular transmission's made in France.
Oh, really?
Yes, so it's
not China.
You
just assume everything is in China.
These days you can assume that, but no, these are a very good quality product, and very reliable, and you pay for what you get, I suppose.
So the Honda HRW 216 had a lot of gearbox problems in a certain run. Not to bag out a brand, because most people are just using that, so it's more like that. It's just this, what's the word, common experience that people might have had.
Sure.
And it sounds like you're trying to go down a different path by having the belt.
Yes.
If the belt breaks, how much is a belt replacement?
$30, maybe $20.
In that ballpark, instead of $400 or $500 for the gearbox,
sure,
or whatever it is.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Now, do you go to this French mob and say, we want this, and then they design it from scratch?
No. So this is a transmission you can buy off the shelf. So if you went onto their website, you'd be able to actually find this transmission. So we source the best components we can, which for those components we don't make ourselves. So like the transmissions or the engines, we source those, and we then combine that with our own product to bring the best product we can to market. So
I feel like you would know so much about mowers. Mm-hmm. You have to, right? I feel like you must be. I've been looking forward to this conversation because, I mean, there's something about online which is nice, but face-to-face and is a different thing. And you say you've been at Masport for 15 years.
Yes.
You started in sales, worked your way through to here.
Yes.
So you clearly don't get, pump your tires up for a bit, right? You don't get to what is your role? Head of product development?
No, I'm a product and training manager. So
Right.
from a sales perspective, not an engineering side of things.
Right.
So.
Okay. But to understand how this all works, just a lot of moving parts, and I just go, well, here's a mower.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it runs, it starts. So what are you? So from your perspective, then, right? Are you going? Okay, we got this mower. We get the feedback from the people, and it's entirely people, so client, customer driven, or do you guys go? I've got an idea. Let's give it a crack, because there'll be a balance between the two, right?
Sure. We try to produce something or a product that is going to be suitable to a purpose. We try to make it fit the consumer's requirements. Now, consumers don't always know what they need until it's created. But a lawnmower, in the sense, is it's got 4 wheels, a motor, blades, and it catches grass. But there's a unique features and designed features on the mowers which can elevate the performance of, say, our lawnmower over a competitor's lawnmower, just to improve, get that better performance out of the mower. So.
And how much in mind do you have the price point when you guys are working on something like this?
Yes, certainly. We're certainly mindful of price point. And we try to develop, we've got a broad range of mowers, so we try to have a mower what can suit various consumers' budgets. We're not the cheapest mower in the market, and I think that's because of the quality of our product. But we certainly do have price points what can meet majority of the markets.
So you've got this. Talk about the Contractor, because there's there's President series, there's Contractor, you've got the 60-volt series, and even if I understand within the battery series, there's how many mowers in the battery?
We've got four mowers in our 60-volt
so you've
platform.
got 4 within that. You've got it's just one full commercial, what you call the Contractor, right?
We've got three self-propelled models, and we just introduced this season a 19-inch alloy push model as well. So we've got 4 in the Contractor range.
Plus the range that you sell for the domestic
we've got
market.
Blue range, a red range, a Pro Power range, which is an interesting range too. That Pro Power range is a range of lawnmowers which are all powered by what we would classify as a professional grade motor or engine. Sorry.
Yeah.
So they've all got cast iron sleeves. So if it's got a cast iron sleeve, that particular model can make it into that range as well. So we've got a very large range.
So I feel like if we stay on the Contract, because that's the thing that most people can be interested. That's what the Gearbox from this is from. So the price per question. I feel personally that if you're a contractor, the cost is an irrelevant number. I mean, it's not totally irrelevant because obviously you don't have unlimited money.
Sure.
But the difference between, say, a $1,500 mower to a $1,700 mower to a $2,000 mower, that's irrelevant if something breaks early or if it's not efficient. Or
that's correct.
And so I wonder if you've got this challenge, because most people don't think that way, right? Most people are like, well, give me that's 1,600 and it's 21 inch, and that's 1,700 and it's 21 inch. I don't know the numbers of all the stuff off the top of my head.
Sure.
I'll get the $100 cheaper one. It's so hard to communicate.
Yeah, so people don't see like that transmission, for instance, is in behind a cover or a plate. So at the time of purchase, it's not something that's readily accessible. Exactly. I mean, you can turn it upside down and see that.
But you haven't got to cut open like this.
No, certainly.
That's not a good way to run your
This
gearbox.
is really just to help train people. So I thought it was a good opportunity, at least, just to show that on the podcast here. But there's other features as well, like all our Contractor mowers. We don't run plastic wheels on them. The rims themselves are all die-cast aluminium. The tire is actually a full synthetic rubber tire. It's not a plastic tire. We run 6202 precision wheel bearings, 2 in each wheel, which are high quality bearings. So these are the things people don't see when making the purchase, or if they're not educated at the time of purchase on that. So,
and then so there's a few things there because you go, let's say, well, do you know what the contractor price is off the top of your head?
They range from about $1,600 to about just under $1,900.
Right. So it's all within that range, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When I'm looking at, it's hard for people to know what the reliability is like until you have one.
Yes.
Until you go out there. I wonder if there's people who've used that to go, oh, I hated that belt setup. It just wasn't for me. Other people's like, it's the best thing I've had since sliced bread.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know that's going to be on a spectrum when you're buying something, and you can't be sure. There must be this balance between, like you talk about the bearings. No one Googles the bearings, but you care about the bearings.
Yeah, I suppose when we looked at, and especially with the contract, the one thing we wanted to do was limit downtime because time is money. So we thought, well, with the wheels break on other brands, so we wanted to bring a wheel to market which really wasn't going to fail. The bearings are maintenance free, the wheels are virtually maintenance free. All the axle or our crank links, I know this is probably technical terms, are all heavy duty. Everything about it, we made it heavy duty. I suppose one of the negative feedbacks we get is that our lawnmower is heavy. But as you can see, the weight of that transmission, our wheels weigh 6 kilos more than a set of plastic wheels.
On their own.
So,
well, hold on a second, because your mower is not that much heavier.
I think it comes in around the mid 50 kilo mark. So, yeah.
But like compared to the other contractor, 3-speed, self-propelled, that sort of stuff.
Sure.
How much heavier is it? 5 kilos?
Maybe about 5 kilos. But
so if the wheels are 6 kilos on their own.
Yeah. So people do notice that extra weight, but I think you take peace of mind in knowing that the lawnmower is being built not to break, and that's what you're getting. So in most cases, we get some negative feedback about the weight, but we also get a lot of positivity about the weight, knowing how well and well built and how strong the construction is. So, yeah.
I wonder if it translates to speed at all, because you would feel that as a contractor, if I had a mower that was twice the weight, but somehow was twice as fast as well for the same cut width, you just use it, because who cares about the weight?
Yeah.
So efficiency when you're turning it, I haven't used it. I haven't compared it side by side with other things. I actually have used one, but I haven't compared it side by side with other things.
Yeah.
So I can't say this is faster or slower. But what I'm trying to get at is there's a lot of things that you can see on a website or on a spreadsheet, and you'll go, oh, it's 3 kilos heavier. Oh, it's $150 more. I'm not going to try it. And what you don't see is, okay, French. Okay, I don't know what the brand of the gearbox is from other places, but perhaps the other gearboxes not as good quality, or perhaps they're from different places. And now that gives context. And now I try to understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a difficult to highlight a lot of these features and differences between other brands, and I think we rely on feedback from customers, especially in the contractor game. There's a lot they communicate a lot amongst one another. So if they've had a negative experience, it's certainly highlighted, which is unfortunately highlighted more often than the positive experiences. But and that was the case with our contractor at the start. We had a couple of failures when we first introduced it. We rectified them as fast as we could, which we have, and since we made those changes, we've really had a really reliable and positive experience with the contractor mowers. So
I wonder if I guess the picture I'm just trying to get across is from a human level. It's like you're trying to work so hard on something, and at the end of the day, someone may accept or reject it without ever touching it in their hands.
Sure.
Without ever really trying it, and it's just an interesting. I'm not asking for a whinge fest or anything, or a rant or anything. It's just an interesting. I've never really thought about that until I started doing a series, because you start talking to the human beings behind these products, and you're like, you actually do care. You're not just a corporation with a big name behind it, and the accounting department might be somewhat cold and ruthless because that's their job, is to make sure it stays afloat. But if if there were, the people behind the design or the people behind the mower
Mm-hmm.
really did want it to work,
Yep.
and they're trying their best, and when something fails, you want to fix it, and
Yes.
and you could have cut corners and you didn't, and you could have done this, and then one thing breaks because somebody did something wrong or whatever, and then rubbish gear.
Yeah. No, I mean that certainly has. We're very passionate about our lawnmowers at Masport. We want to bring the best quality product we can to market, and when it comes to the contractor, we certainly went. A lot of people say over the top, but we'd rather be over the top than cut corners, as you said before. So we've made a mower that's built strong. It's going to last, and we certainly haven't cut corners on the.
Well, talking about cutting corners, another thing that happens is people will buy an American mower.
Oh, yes.
See, gotcha.
Yeah.
Height of cut.
Yes.
No, where does the contractor go to?
Look, and pretty much across the board. I mean, each mower is slightly different to the other, but we generally say our cut heights are 10 mil to 70 mil. I was just working on some a mower the other day. Went down to 7 mil for a push mower, so which is very low. But in general, most of our lawnmowers will be around between 7 to 12 mil at its lowest, right through to 58 to 70 odd.
So here's one of the things that a lot of people are getting into now, and this is what I like about the Masport, because I know that you've got that low height of cut. And I'll talk about the battery in a second, right? But when you're a solo operator, right, and you don't have a lot of money, but you want to get into lawn renovations, because we do full lawn renovations and we do our finish cut with a cylinder mower that we have as a sacrificial cylinder mower, right? And, that's not cheap to do that.
No.
And we do full renovate. Like, that's part of our business.
Yes.
But not everybody can afford to go to the extreme and to buy a mower that can do everything from your 10 millimeter reset height.
Yep.
To, that's the other thing, is like the $100 or whatever for that type of person may not be, if they've gone out and bought an American mower and 25 mil is as low as it goes. Right, and that might be fine for 80%, 95% of their applications.
Yes.
Some people 100%.
Yep.
But other people are like, well, now I've got to go spend another, say, $500 on a utility mower or more.
Yes.
You could get it in one. Actually, from a price conscious perspective, it's a benefit.
It is. So I mean, there is a bit of this product on market. It's imported. Either from the States or it's made in China and imported down, but it's an American spec. So one of the features of American mowing, as you alluded to before, was the height of cut. They do cut a lot higher. We do actually build a lot of mowers for the American market. We do sell. We've got a.
Do you sell Masport brand in America?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Is that why you were at GIE last year?
Yeah, we've been at GIE for quite a number of years, in fact. So.
I didn't realize. See, that's funny because there's only one other brand that I've talked to on this series that has even got a single product that's the other way around.
Yeah.
Where they've gone, we're designing in Australia, and the company liked it, so we sent it to Europe or America. I didn't realize that you guys.
Yeah, no.
Well, Masport is New Zealand.
Masport's a New Zealand company.
So we'll forgive them for that. Yes. It's slightly closer, right?
Yes. But, I mean, Masport's a New Zealand company, and we've got a head office here in Australia as well. So, and Australia's probably our strongest market, as well as New Zealand's a very good market too. But we do sell to 45 different countries around the world. So
45?
Yeah. So we've got
is they all in Europe, Asia?
Asia, Europe, the Americas.
Gee.
Yeah, you can jump on our website, and I think it's even.
I just assumed being New Zealand, it was just I'll be like New Zealand, Australia, maybe Indonesia or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we sell into China, Singapore, the Middle East, Europe.
So you're getting a French gearbox. I don't know if they sell the contractor.
Not all models go to everywhere. But
I was going to say, if you got French gearboxes and send it to China, wouldn't they be offended? The Communist Party there might be like, no, that's not how it works, mate.
No.
Before you get cancelled from the Communist Party of China. So here's the other thing that comes to mind. And I've talked to other people who work in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the consumer in mind, right?
Yes.
And then there's a certain shop called Bunnings,
yes.
right? And Bunnings has their own ideas, and they kind of got a lot of sway, right? And if you want to put something in Bunnings, you kind of have to, and we've talked about this in certain different ways. They might be like, for example, you can never run out of stock, so you always have to have this available. Or we want something to meet this market. Am I making this sort of stuff up, or is this really how it is dealing with the big box stock?
Obviously, no one ever wants to run out of stock. So we always have quite a large warehousing of product at all times. So we've got warehouses in each major state, in Western Australia here in Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane.
Whereabouts in Perth is it?
Just out near the airport.
Cool.
Sorry, I haven't been out there since I've only just returned to Perth recently, because I was in the eastern states and in New Zealand for a while too. So
yeah, it's horrible over there, isn't it? Just because 90-something% of our listeners are over there, it's shocking.
It's a lovely place. All of those
Who would
places.
And then yet to this week is like furnace levels of heat. You're probably regretting all the decisions.
It's a warm day today for sure.
We've got a little fan here.
Yep.
Overseeing in this pristine studio, which is certainly not a garage.
Studio. Yeah.
Definitely does not have weightlifting equipment right there.
No, haven't seen it.
I was wondering today, I was like, man, if it's a roaster, it's not really great in here, but it's fine. But so, what was I saying? Oh, the Bunnings stuff, right?
Yes.
So, is there? I know you could never really say that there wouldn't be a product you wouldn't be proud of. That's too strong. But what sort of compromises? Is there a lot of compromises that you may find from a Bunnings, because you maybe want to deliver a certain type of product and they kind of want something else, or does it not really affect that much?
Look, we won't compromise too much. We certainly can take features out of our mowers to hit certain price points, but we certainly won't compromise, especially on safety. We'll never compromise on that. So we can build mowers to a price to meet a market, and we can do that for Bunnings, but we can also do that for our specialist retailers as well. So, but if a particular company or consumer wants a particular mower built, then we'd certainly look at it. And I think that's why we've ended up with such a large range of we've currently got, because we do.
To listen.
Yeah, we do like to listen, and sometimes we listen too much. But our range is very vast, and
there's a lot.
There is a lot. We must look at reducing that down a little bit.
Because we won't talk about it now, but you've got cylinder mowers.
Yep.
You've got a variety of ride-ons.
Yes.
You've got. I didn't know this until I researched for this. You have 4-wheel drive ride-ons.
Yes.
What the heck?
Well,
where did they come from?
We've had them for a while. They're a specialist ride-on for climbing up slopes. Yeah. But not only slopes.
Big lumps on the tyres.
Yes, yeah. They're like agricultural-style tyres on them. They're not only designed for climbing slopes, but they also take on high grass, small trees. You can pretty much run over grass over 6 foot high, and it'll just knock it down to the ground. But
I've never seen one in any mower shop I've ever, and then I'm like, what the heck? You've got like 4 or 3, or I haven't been on the website today, but you've got a lot of variety of them.
Yeah, we do have a broad range of ride-ons, and in fact, we just introduced a couple of new tractor-style ride-ons to the market this season, which has been accepted really well in the market. We're actually really pleased with how they're going.
All right. So what makes them successful? Because you would think that everything's been covered in that area of the industry.
What we wanted to do is bring a product to market which had a lot of valuable features for the consumer. We've made it very user-friendly, but our retail pricing has also made it very accessible to the average consumer. And in fact, we just had a contractor tested over in Melbourne through Landscape Contractor magazine, and they and that should be coming out soon in that magazine if you have access to that. And they really enjoyed the experience of using it. They had one of our V-twin 42-inch tractors, and had a retail of 4499 with hydrostatic drive, foot operated drive, electric PTO. So it's got all the conveniences a consumer would want. So
for $4,000 You were saying
4,499.
which
42 inch.
so is this a press deck, fab deck?
This particular model is a press deck.
Yep.
It's a good deck. It performs very well. It's very good airflow in the deck. So it's mulching and discharge performance is.
Well, I'm assuming that you had more of the acreage owner in mind when making something like that, or is it a variety? Like, who do you have in mind?
Yeah, certainly. It's certainly not your corner block. It's your lifestyle consumer. So those have got a few acres. It's ideally suited for that. Yeah.
Here's an interesting question. What makes something a commercial bit of gear? Because like you see people all the time. So this is what brought me on. So this tractor mower that we're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people will start out in the industry, and they're on a budget, and maybe they already have one, or a name anything, a chainsaw, whatever. That might be a domestic model, right? And they got to do what they got to do.
Yes.
3 years of using it is still going.
Yep.
And it's like, well, so is commercial just a label someone slaps on something?
No. There's a product is purpose built for commercial applications. So one thing we do, we won't call something commercial unless it's got a commercial grade engine on it. Which would mean
is that the iron sleeves you're talking about?
Yeah, so it'd have a cast iron sleeve in there, and that just helps with the longevity of the motor. We also it doesn't necessarily have to have contractor wheels or whatever on it, but I think if you're going to classify something as contractor, it's going to have to stand up to the. I was going to say the word abuse, but to the contractors, and knock them around a little bit, and they get used day in day out on 5 to 8 hours a day, whatever it may be.
You kind of want something that people will abuse it, especially with employees. Right?
Yes, correct.
Like the owner probably not so much. I meet people in the industry from all different perspectives. Right, I'm of the perspective that. Like, for example, a battery thing. If it says commercial and I can't leave it out in the rain, it's not commercial to me.
Sure.
Because it's kind of like I'm going to have to do a job when it's raining at some point.
Yeah.
And I can't stop halfway through. If I'm mowing a lawn and it's thick and it's overgrown and I hit a rock, right? Obviously, it depends how large the rock is. But, there's rocks happen on people's lawns. And if it's going to damage the mower beyond usability, that happens, and then obviously employees jumping it off stuff.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's actually funny you say that, because when we built the contractor mower, we made a conscious decision to go for a steel chassis over an alloy chassis for that reason, because there is times, and we do sell a lot of alloy chassis product as well, but we just they can be knocked around a lot more if you hit gum nuts or sticks or stones, and you can actually crack them and put a hole through the side of an alloy chassis. So we made the conscious decision to go down the steel. If you do damage the steel, you can always knock it out. It's going to last a long time. There's a bit of thought goes in behind these decisions.
So let's stay on a little bit more on the rotary mower side of things.
Yes.
Before we move on, if someone's coming into the industry,
yes,
and let's round it up to $2,000 for the contractor is too much.
Yes.
Right. What is the cheapest mower that you sell? So obviously it wouldn't be self-propelled, that you actually think, like talking about this commercial versus that you would be like, this can handle abuse. Yep. Maybe it doesn't have blade brake. It doesn't have self-propelled. Maybe it's not 21 inches.
Yes.
But there'll be people who will go, well, I want to get started, and that height range, maybe they're interested in Masport. So what's coming to mind?
Now, there's we sell a lot of lawnmowers to contractors, which aren't a contractor lawnmower, but the one common thing is it's got a contractor engine on it. So if I highlight our President 5000, for argument's sake, or our Platinum range equivalent, which is the 750 ST, they both run the Briggs & Stratton 850 professional series engine on there.
Yeah.
they're on a standard chassis, standard wheels. I mean, it's a very heavy duty chassis anyhow, but they're just running standard mag wheels on there. But the one thing about that is the power that engine provides. It enables the contractors to pretty much take on any mowing task in front of them. So it probably come in about half the price of a contractor, but it is a push mower. It is a smaller cut, but they're a very good lawnmower. So we do sell a lot of those. Just as long as everyone's aware that it doesn't come with a contractor warranty with it as well. It's normally 3 months, but the engine itself does come with a 2-year commercial warranty on it as well, or a 5-year domestic warranty.
I feel like a rotary mower, it's without all the fancy gadgets, it's so simple.
They are.
It's just like, don't knock something big and it'll be fine.
Yep.
It's like, it's not that hard.
No.
But I just think it's interesting that, like, you get sucked down. You definitely do when you're in the contractor market, where you're like, I want the fanciest bit of gear. But sometimes you just got to get out there and make money.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a push mower. I think sometimes they're a little bit they're lighter to manoeuvre.
Access,
smaller, easier access. You can lift them if you have to get up onto, if you've got tiered levels out the back of a property. Yeah. So under those circumstances, they can certainly do the job and then will last quite a while. But the contractor was built for large jobs, for day in, day out contract work, and designed not to fail.
People, if you've been enjoying this Makers Month series, we're in the second half of it now. If you've been loving that, the reality is that it's only been able to happen or being able to be produced because of the Patreons. You may not know this, but the work that goes behind the scenes is insane. We've been doing sort of 11 p.m., 12 p.m. finishes pretty much every day since this series started, and a little bit before that, to be honest, as well. And here's the thing. I'm not editing these podcasts at all. We have an editor now. So it's just a sheer amount of work. If you're enjoying this and you've been listening to them, we're not getting paid by the brands. This is trying to be as unbiased as possible. And so, people, if you like this series, jump on the Patreon. We need that support because at the end of the series, there won't be any money left. So going forward, we need some of that support. So people, jump on if you're enjoying it. Become a patron. You become $5 a month, or you can give $5 a month, or $16.50. Now, if you say that's not within my means, totally fine. No judgment, no pressure. But if it's within your means and you are enjoying it, then go for that. Now, a way that you can support without the money is to share on social media. Help us get more people who listen, more people who watch. And anyways, I want to say thank you to those patrons because honestly, I can't handle too many more of these late nights. So thanks for supporting and paying for that editor. Anyways, let's get back in the podcast. All right, so here's what everyone wants me to talk about, which is battery.
Sure.
Now, the first thing I want to say is, do you market your battery range or any specific part of your battery range as commercial?
We don't necessarily say it's commercial, but although it does come with a commercial warranty of 12 months, this product. But what we say is, the 60-volt range is a range we brought out for consumers through to professional users. So it's targeted at a broad audience.
Range. Yep.
But it is a good quality product range, and backed by either 5-year domestic warranty or a 12-month.
5-year domestic is pretty damn good.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Because, I mean, I don't know what the other brands are doing. So, I mean, I'm not comparing. I don't have anybody in mind where I'm saying it's better than that or whatever. But it's just, especially if you're a grandma,
yes,
a lighter mower, battery, no pull start, 5 years.
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty good.
I'll just need to clarify. It's 5 years on the tools. It's 3 years on the battery, which is like an industry standard now.
Yeah.
So
okay, with this mower, there's multiple, right?
Yep.
So I don't have the website in front of me, but off the top of my head,
yes,
there's an 18, there's a 21.
So we've got a 16.
16.
Or 16 and a half inch is a 420 mil cut.
Okay. Right.
And then we've got an 18 inch model, which is got a 750 watt motor. Then we've got a 19-inch model, which has got a 1.2 kilowatt motor, and then we've got the 18-inch self-propelled, which has also got the same 1.2 kilowatt motor on it. So
Okay. So how low is this 18 going?
in cut height,
Yeah.
This would go down to, I think it's around 11 mil.
That's interesting. I don't think there's any other battery mower on the market, that, at least of the ones I've talked to, that will go that low.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of the other ones would be 21-inch. So I wonder if that's part of it because of the strain on the motor.
Yeah, certainly. I suppose the one big difference is we're using our standard Masport chassis. So unlike other brands who have gone out and outsourced a lawnmower chassis and the like to suit their battery, we've pretty much taken the motor pod, taken the petrol engine off, put this battery pod on, and in doing so, you end up getting the same great performance from a Masport mower. It doesn't matter what it's powered by, because they're both going to deliver the same blade tip speed, so you still get that same nice cut and mulch finish.
So a lot of people who are listening to this, 18 inches is not going to be big enough for the commercial user, right? So is there something coming out in the future that might be wider?
Yeah, well, absolutely. We're always reviewing our offer, and we are, in fact, we've just been talking about our battery offer going forward. So it's something certainly on our mind, and I think it's something we're also looking to develop for the American market as well, being the 21 inches, the standard cut width over there. So
there's a lot of what's I found interesting is a lot of brands are now coming out with like a 24, 25. There's a lot of 30s now, right? And it's kind of like it's like a nuclear arms race, like
who can get the biggest
mower.
Yeah, I think there's a size limit. I mean, the 21 inch is our largest model to date, and I think what happens is when you start getting too big, it just starts getting more awkward to use. I mean, I know there's 30-inch machines out there now, which are pretty much like a small ride-on chassis with a set of handles on it, and which is suitable for a particular market. That I'm sure there is a market there for it, but that'd be on the bigger acreage. But that'd also be the same market as your ride-on mower as well. So,
well, that's exactly right. So like you've got your standard 21-inch, and then you've got your sort of stand-on mowers that are becoming more popular in the contractor scene.
Yes.
So
the zero turn.
Yeah, so the zero turns, because they're longer, they may not be great for access for like a residential. So like you're saying, a 1 acre block with a tiny house. But a lot of these guys, they will have both on. So they might have like a 32, 36-inch stander with a 21-inch self-propelled.
Yes.
And they try and use the stander as much as possible, especially over east, a lot of mulching, so they're not picking up clippings, or they'll put a side bagger like a Catch Pro on the side or something. But then there's some people who have gone, well, instead of spending $12,000 on a stand-on to $15,000 to $18,000, whatever it is, right? You could spend, $3,000 to $5,000 on a 30-inch. Yep. So your 21 is still your main. It's different for us here in WA. I was going to say in Australia, the real Australia.
Yes. Because
most people here are using a cylinder mower as well, and they might have a 26 or a 28, or whatever it is. And so they that's their two mowers, and you kind of start running out of space. But over east, I feel like a lot of guys over east, they want the pairing of a 21 and a 30. Not everybody, but there's a section of the market, because their properties are a lot of corner blocks, a lot of sort of 1,000 square meters,
certainly
2,000 square meter blocks. And I'm interested because a lot of them have to mod it because they're American machines, right? And you know the brands I'm talking about, and everybody else does. Well, we won't mention them, but you have to modify them to cut low enough. So you kind of like, it's not, they like the size, they don't like the cut height.
Yeah. So I mean, as you alluded to before, one of the sticking points might be that it's the price point. So if they want a that particular cut width at a better price point, then that's obviously a good starting point for them, and maybe that's something they can use until they can generate enough income to then step up to something at a later date, maybe like a 0 or.
Well, I reckon my suggestion to Masport, as someone who has no, what's the word? You really shouldn't care about it at the end of the day, but I reckon that 24 to 30 inch range, you probably wouldn't sell a million products, but I reckon there's a bunch of people out there, like if there was a 24 or 26 mower that went to the 10 mil with no, and they know it's Masport and they know it's a brand that they like, it's like that. It might be interesting,
Okay.
Maybe you sell 3 and,
Yeah.
I've wrecked your entire financial productions.
So we're certainly open to new ideas. And I mean, if the market trends that way and there's a market to sell to, then it's certainly something we won't not. Although we just spoke about before how big our range is.
Exactly. You want to cut them down.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you take 2 of your 18s and put them together? And what's that, a 36?
36 inch, yeah.
Weld them together side by side.
Yeah.
People, if you want a 30 inch or a 24 inch or a 26 inch, message Masport. So you listen to the podcast, all right? Get onto it.
But don't buy 2 18 inches, try to stick them together. It just won't work.
Or you could try and put it on YouTube. No, don't do that. No. That's the evil part of it. All right, cylinder mowers.
Yes.
So I use Mower Masters, just to be clear.
Yep.
I've got a Scott Bonner as well.
Yes.
I've used, now you were telling me before that you were part of developing that Star cylinder mower.
Yes.
That was the first cylinder mower I ever had.
Right, okay.
Right? And very early days, I did actually use it a couple of times on the road.
Yep.
And then I sold it.
Right.
It was not treated well by me as a teenager.
Right. Okay.
But I used to mow this lawn with it. But anyways, back in the day. So you're a cylinder mower. You know about cylinder mowers a lot, right?
Yep.
A lot of people over east are going, I'm curious about cylinder mowing. They look at a Mowmaster, way too expensive.
Yes.
Right? $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 for something that they're not sure has a viable market.
It's a very, very good product, though.
Right. And, it's kind of the way I look at it is your Mowmaster is in its own sort of category.
It's a commercial built mower for commercial purposes. I mean, they do a domestic range, I believe, as well, but that they certainly built
the super thick steel,
very
heavy machines.
Yes.
The way I look at it is I got into cylinder mowing because I got the Star.
Yes.
And the Scott Bonner, and very soon after, I got a second-hand MEY.
Yes.
About a year into business. They didn't have the height adjuster on it, and then when I built up enough money, I then was able to buy a brand new Mowmaster.
Yes.
Problem is, you can't have that path over east. Second-hand average, like I got my Scott Bonner for free. Right, it had a blown engine and it was rusted out, so I had to change the guy. I was actually buying something else off him, and he was like, "Do you want this?" I was like, yeah, like he was moving house. He was moving interstate actually. So a lot of people, I got lucky, is what I'm saying.
Yep.
Change the engine, whatever, cost me $500. You don't get that option, especially these days, since the cylinder mower boom happened since 2020.
Yeah, yeah.
I look at the Masport range and go, that's a real, financially, it's viable because they're in that $1,500 to a little bit over $2,000, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, right through, I think, 2.2 for the 26 inch. Yeah.
And 26 inch as well. Friend of the channel, Nick from Lawns and Good, Nick's got one of those Masports, and he has a Mowmaster now, but he still cuts his front with the Masport. Like I'm looking at it going, that's an interesting model for someone over east. I have questions though, because they bounce around on trailers.
Yes.
Right? You don't have control of what's in the lawn as much. And I've had it happen many times. I had it happen last week. I hit a piece of metal because someone on my Mowmaster, because someone had the verge side pickup and there was a rusty thing, and they've taken the verge side pickup away. I'm just mowing, and so like that happens. How much of that kind of work can these things take?
It's a good question. The chassis, although it's not as heavy as a Mowmaster or similar, the chassis is a fully welded chassis, so it's still strong, and with all the componentry locked into place, it does remain solid. So it can take quite a few bumps and bruises. Now, as with your mower hitting something in the lawn, our blades on ours are all 4 mil thick, which is quite a heavy blade, especially for a domestic.
Do you know what the Star or the Scott Bonner was off the top of your head?
Early on, they were 2.5 mil, I think, and then we ended up changing to 4 mil, I think it was.
So what's a standard Scott Bonner blade
in thickness?
Yeah,
I'm not totally sure off the top of my head.
I don't have it.
It could be 2.5 to 3 mil in thickness.
My granddad's on the other side of the park over there.
We'll go have a look.
He's got a few. Yeah. He's got a lot of lawnmowers in his house.
So we made sure we had a heavier gauge blades and spiders, which hold the blades in place. The spiders, the discs
like
with
backs?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Free spiders.
So they are heavy duty, but with anything, if you hit debris in the lawn, and it's always my best advice is just to go
Avoid
check your lawn first. But they will take quite a beating, the machines.
So do you feel like they are? So let's say you've got the guy over east. He's doing a lot of rotary mowing. He wants to go buy one.
Yes.
Or she, they want to go buy this mower. They're concerned about, the damaging it or investing $2,000 into something. What about, because obviously if you hit something, okay, that's going to happen, right? How much is a replacement bottom blade and a replacement cylinder?
That's a good question. I don't actually know off the top of my head.
Okay, do you have a rough ballpark idea? Spare parts department right now.
Yeah. Look, in a lot of these cases, you don't need to replace the blades. They are serviceable. So
well, the reason why I'm asking is that if you have a spare and say you bend a blade,
sure,
just to be able to put them back on, keep your work going.
Yes,
take it into a shop to get fixed because you can just swap them around. Is that an option?
That's okay. You can do. I just don't know what the cost of those components would be. I'd say the bottom blade's not overly expensive. And normally when you do hit something with your cutting cylinder, you'll only take a nick out of one of the blades.
Yeah.
So in that case, I'd just recommend people taking it down to their mower shop and putting it in to be sharpened, resharpened, or just refaced. So.
Is there a bolt that you can backlap? Like maybe if you take the side casing off, like is there a way to backlap them?
There is. You'd have to build a tool. We don't have the rebate on the back of the blades, which would help keep the paste in place. The squared blade.
Yep.
But you could do. Yeah.
I just feel like I think that's the market that in this podcast is interested in those mowers, because I think the domestic market is like, well, it's a great mower for the domestic market.
Yes.
Right. Like we said, Nick was using it for many years and his videos were getting millions of views because people loved how the lawn looked.
Yep.
Do you know about Nick online? Have you seen his stuff? But no,
I don't watch much stuff online.
He said he wasn't on social media before.
Yeah.
But when you get this, what I'm getting at is there's people who've done amazing jobs with those mowers.
Yeah.
You're not in reality. The difference between a Mowmaster or a Toro or a Jacobson if the blade is sharp on any of them, it's the same way. It's the same motion of cutting.
Yeah.
The difference with, say, a Toro Greensmast is it's got a floating deck and it can go to 2.7 mil. I mean, they pretty much all can, but it's got the right type of blade to go, down to that.
Yes.
And it's designed for golf course greens. And the difference between a Mowmaster is it's super flipping heavy. It's designed to cut cricket pitches and take, 15 years of abuse.
Yeah.
So for the domestic market, like it's clearly that's going to cut fine. I just feel like there's a lot of people who may be interested in.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, there may be differences in the quality of the steel used in the blades. Some are going to be better than others. Some are going to hold an edge a little bit longer than others, but you obviously pay for that privilege as well. But if the blades are set correctly and are sharp, you're spot on. The blades are going to cut exactly the same as a more expensive unit, and you're going to get the exact same finish with your unit. So.
Have you ever thought about making a battery cylinder mower? we are adding more mowers to your already extensive range.
It's something we are considering doing. I think they've been experimenting with that at the moment. So I don't know where we're at with that, but
because could you just take, like, I don't know how this works. Do you literally just say you've got the line trimmer or whipper head or whatever you call it? If you surely with some gearing on it or whatever, you can just put that on your existing frame.
Yeah, it's probably more about run time rather than I mean, we could get the 60-volt pole off our mower, push mower,
So
and turn it sideways and fit it on there.
You've already got all the parts.
Yeah.
Because you could take the mower you've already got and just unbolt, just like you said with the battery mower, the rotary, just unbolt something and put something back on.
Mm-hmm.
And I reckon, again, I mean, I'm just throwing all my ideas at you now. You know, surely there'd be a market for it. You know,
look, I'm sure there is.
Charge $15,000 for it.
No, we wouldn't do that. But it's something certainly we are thinking about. We haven't brought anything to market at this stage, but it's something we have thought about.
Is there anything that you really wanted that just wasn't viable? Like,
oh, that's a good question.
Because you've got to think about the viable stuff. Because this is why I'd be useless in this job. I just get too excited about, you know, you would have, again, 700,000 different types of mowers and only 4 of them really sell because, you know, there's got to be a market for it.
Yeah, there's nothing really comes to mind, to be honest.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That means everything that you've wanted is there.
Well, I suppose we just got to be realistic of what we can and can't achieve. And I'm quite realistic as to what we can and can't do. So
yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
that's good to dream though.
What? Okay, so we've covered the mowers. You were telling me off air before. I asked you what is the lineup that you're really quite proud of, and you told about your chippers.
Oh yeah, we've just developed a new chipper.
Yeah.
Which is we've had a range of chipper shredders for quite a while. And there's some limitations to those machines where one was cut size. They're capable of chipping timber up to 50 mil in diameter, and any branches off the main stem, you pretty much got to just trim off and drop down the chute if they're a fine chute. But that's time consuming to do that.
Maybe homeowner who's not in a rush.
Yes, it's perfect for that. And then the mulch from those chippers is very fine. It's a beautiful mulch. Will break down.
We are talking about a wood chipper.
This is a wood chipper,
like, just for people who may have been a little confused. But literally just something you chuck in, mulch all the stuff up. Yeah. Throws it into a pile or in a bin or something.
Pretty much. I mean, that particular one I was talking about just drops it down to the ground. So then we want to do create a model where you can just grab the branch which you've cut with all the stems off it and just drop it into the hopper.
So how thick?
Up to 70 mil.
70 by 35.
Yeah. So it's something that wide. It doesn't mean you can just get a branch that's 70 mil long the whole way in length. It can do up to 70 mil. So there is but it will do shorts of 70 mil.
But this is 70 by 35 as well.
Yeah, well, it'd probably go through that.
So if you're going 70 by 70 all the way around,
it's quite a piece. It's
almost twice as thick.
It's quite a big piece of timber. So yeah. So so we've designed that to be able to take 70 mil. It's got a big heavy cutting disc which has got 3 cutting blades on there, and on the back of that cutting disc is 3 fan blades. Right. So when the material's fed through there, it's chipped by the 3 blades, picked up by the fans, and discharged. And I suppose one point of difference we put onto this chipper is we put a high discharge chute. There's a lot of chippers on the market would have a low discharge chute, which is fine. They just you can throw discharge into a small trailer or straight into the garden. But I wanted to bring something to market where we could discharge it straight into a green wheelie bin, so you don't have to worry about trying to pick up material, or you can discharge it over the top of your low-lying plants at the front of your garden, or you can throw it up into a higher trailer or whatever it may be. It just gives a little bit more user friendliness with the machine. So and its performance is proven to be fantastic.
And this is a Honda engine.
So we got three different versions. We got 2 Honda powered ones. One's a pull start Honda, and the other second option is a key start Honda. But we also have a Briggs and Stratton powered model, which is just at a bit of better price point. So,
and do you find, is this Briggs and Stratton one of the ones that has? Is it an option for a commercial user, or is it really the occasional domestic?
No, absolutely. It'd be absolutely fine. It's got a cast iron sleeve in the engine, so it will take the workload. I was going to say the dusting from all the chipping and stuff, but so it's very similar in the sense that the Honda also runs the cast iron sleeve. So these are engines that are well suited to the purpose. So
Chippers. We touched a little bit on the battery range. Actually, one of the things I was going to say as well is your hedge trimmer on the battery range.
Yes.
And the blower.
Yes.
If you look at their stats, they're actually quite competitive. And the price point's really low. And so I find it interesting that other brands which we won't mention have very similar stats and almost twice the price.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's their decision on their price points and stuff. But we wanted to make it a product which is a well-performing product at a reasonable price point. It might be meaning that we're not getting as much margin as we ought to, but we certainly want to bring a product to market which is, as I say, accessible to a broad range of consumers, and it's a product which is going to live up to the requirements, I suppose, if you want to put it that way, to those broad range of consumers as well. So they are a good product. So
I want your opinion on this, because we've had by the time the series is over, we might have had 5, 6, 7, 8 businesses that are really focusing on battery.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to go down this battery route. A lot of people are nervous about it because you don't really, you've got 50 years plus of petrol. You know how it works, right? I think, my personal opinion, the handheld stuff, it's getting more and more and more common sense to go down. There are a few things, blowers specifically with runtime,
yes,
and mowers with runtime and power.
Mm-hmm.
Is the technology quite there? Some will say yes. Others say no. I was talking to one person, who will remain unnamed, and they kind of like, I don't know if battery mowers are going to get where a petrol can go when it comes to range of height, absolute abuse. Do you think they will get there? And if they do, how long?
Well, I think firstly, we're already there for range of height of cut, because we manufacture our own chassis. So it's all our own internal IP. So we've already produced a product which will meet the height of cut requirements. Now, certainly runtime is a topic.
Yeah, because this is what I get. You can go to 11 mil, right? How long, if I'm scalping a lawn, that's 30.
Sure.
It's the balance of that, because if you're trying to regular maintenance at that low rate, it'll be fine, because you're not cutting any more off than you would have at 25 mil.
No, it's a really good question, and it's funny you say that, because I recently scalped a lawn, a very spongy buffalo lawn. I took it back. In fact, I nearly killed it because I took it back so far.
Too far, yeah.
I was taking probably 40 mil right down to root level, just about. So it was really putting it under a lot of workload. And of course, with
this is the battery 18
this is the battery 19 inch
19
with
okay.
the bigger engine. And first off, it got through the grass. I didn't stall. Long as I didn't try to go too fast.
Yep.
But what it did do was drain the battery. Now that's always going to be one of the common issues with battery, is the more load you put the motors under, the more power they're going to draw from the battery. So, but in saying that, that's easily overcome by having a number of batteries to enable you to keep mowing. So,
well, I kind of feel like with the commercial guys, this is why they're not moving to battery mowers at the moment, is because if they need to go scalp someone's lawn, say you rock up to a quote and the client wants it done then and there, and it's something that's super overgrown, right? They're like, give me my Masport contractor.
Yes.
Right, you see Timber Lawnmower Man's using that all the time.
Yes.
You know, for all those overgrown beasts. Give me a stand-on mower. You know, give me a utility mower. I'm not so sure about the battery stuff right now, you know, because in the real world of the contractor is sometimes you don't know what you're going to get thrown at you.
No.
Most of the time you know exactly because you know your schedule is going to be like this. But, you know, there was last year over East. Were you over the East when all the rain was happening? And the insane growth these guys were getting because they couldn't mow because it was too wet. And I just feel like at the moment the mower that can do everything without complaint is still petrol powered.
No, and you're right, and we certainly see a long future with petrol still in the market. We certainly don't see battery taking over that market in the lawnmower field. Now, in saying that, there's the battery mowers have their place, and certainly on the smaller yards. And I think the most important thing with battery mowers, as long as you maintain your lawn on a regular basis and you're not letting it get too far out of hand or too far away from you, then the battery mower is quite suitable, especially on those smaller lawns. But for a contractor, for scalping, it would be a lot of stopping and starting and changing batteries.
Or just overgrown or this or that. Like you just have to check. And then, if you rock up to a job, you can imagine if you rocked up to a job, you had a battery mower and it was more than you had charged for and you had to knock back the job. It's cost you money. I think that's what goes through some people's minds.
Yeah.
A lot of people are excited about the battery movement and some are really not sold yet.
I think there's a lot of fear out there, and I was probably one of them as well. I just didn't think a battery mower would do the job. But in saying that, I use a battery mower at home. So there is a convenience, but I'm not using it day in, day out on a regular basis. So, look, for the contractor, I think you're right. For those guys who just want to get in, get the job done, get out, it's no downtime, not wasting time. In some instances, then the petrols are ideal. If they do want to go to market with offering a green service and having a battery, then that's obviously another avenue they can consider. So,
what do you think? All things except for your barbecues, right? Because Masport still do barbecues.
Do a lot of barbecues, yes.
And those kind of things. In everything that Masport sells, what's the most underrated tool?
Most underrated tool.
Like it doesn't sell as much as you think it should. It maybe the people who get it absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But it's in such a small little niche that not everyone's going to buy it.
I can't even think of it off the top of my head. The lawn edger has been one I thought we'd do better with. We've got a nice petrol lawn edger, two models in fact. It's a nice domestic lawnmower. It's four-wheeled. It's nice, really, really well balanced. Alloy cutting guard. One's got a Briggs engine on, the other one's got a smaller Lonson engine for a price point. And I know in Western Australia there's a lot of lawn edges in the market, but it's something. It's funny because I see a lot of guys using their line trimmers to do the edges rather than lawn edger, which I find a lawn edge is far more convenient.
I do too.
And you get a nice crisp edge, and it just
anything with a metal bladed edge looks better.
Yeah, it just gives a crisp picture frame look to your lawn, and that's probably one of the products which kind of I don't understand why there's not a bigger market for it. There used to be a bigger market for it. It just seems to have.
I think a lot of people have gone down the stick edger route.
Yeah,
well.
Certainly. Yeah.
You've got a combi system.
We do. It's either under our Morrison range or our Solo range. So we've got that combi system under both those ranges, which share those same attachments. So and
I think that's probably what happened. And a lot of the Americans you were using on like TikTok, Instagram, those videos went viral of people doing very satisfying work with lawn edges on unsupported edges. When you have a 3 or 4 wheeled edger like that you can push like a lawnmower, right? You can get these amazingly straight lines. It's easy to do curved lines with a whipper snipper.
Yes.
But you can sort of hide the curve. If you don't get it quite right, what's the curve? You know, you've got nothing to base it off.
Yeah, I've made my own technique where I go past the corner, and then I work the corner backwards. It's just I seem to pick it out a really nice line around the corner. I don't know. That's just my personal preference, but yeah, it's. But if you've got a nice rectangular square lawn, which a lot of people do these days, nice sharp corners, then it's
just
nothing better.
The best operator I've seen on the internet with the most views in the history of all time will not get, I have not seen yet, get a perfectly straight line. Whereas with a 3-wheeled edger, even if it's unsupported,
yeah,
like that's, I mean, and people, if you got something, send it through, right? Show me what your straight edge, because there's some people in the comments who'll be like, yeah, I whip and I'm perfect. Send it through, right?
There's nothing more beautiful than especially for us in Western Australia, having a lawn that's been edged and then cylinder mowed, and it just looks crisp. And
do you use the cylinder at your house, or you said you're using the battery rotary?
I'm using a battery rotary at the moment. I've got a cylinder coming very soon. My last one, because as we spoke about off air, I've moved from Perth to Melbourne, Melbourne to New Zealand back to Melbourne, and then just recently Melbourne back to Perth.
So how long have you been back in Perth?
Less than 12 months, probably 11 months now. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And what was the reason you just want to go back here?
Well, for family reasons. Yeah. So I've come back. My father's not well at the moment, so we just wanted to be close with family. Sure. It was very important to us. So, and I've got 2 young kids who I really want to have spend as much quality time with their grandparents as while they're still here. But it's been great coming back, and I certainly miss the blue sky. You don't realise you miss it until you come back, and I do enjoy the warm weather. Although it's very warm this week.
It's a lot of blue sky. We don't get rain. Yeah. When was the last time we actually got rain?
Yeah, so I was in Melbourne for 5 years, and you certainly do get those 4 seasons in one day. And I did have the privilege of also living in Auckland for 4 years, and that's a beautiful place as well. Really nice country, New Zealand, but very happy to be what I would call home, Perth, born and bred. So yeah,
up north as well, though, aren't you? North of the river.
I'm just north of the river, but
So it's like Perth is like, for those who don't know, Perth is like it's north and south, and you only ever cross the other side for something like this.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I've got to do a podcast, or for me, it's like I've got to go to IKEA, or it's like, it's some shop, like you might want to go to DFO or something, so you got to go south of the river. There isn't. It's like nobody ever crosses over.
I don't think I know all the suburbs in the southern region.
I have no idea about the northern region.
So we kind of stick to our own. But Perth's a lovely city, and it's a growing city, and I see there's a lot of new houses popping up everywhere, and I'm not sure that's the same with everywhere in Australia, but there's a lot of lawns to be mowed. So
nice small stuff. Well, I've got one more or 2 more actually questions for you. The first is, where do you see? Everyone's going to say battery, right? But what insight or what opinions do you have about the future of the industry that may not be common? What kind of different thoughts do you have that you're not seeing everybody else having?
I'm not sure of that question.
Because the way I think about it is people just go, well, it's going to be battery.
Look, I think in some products, battery makes sense. Battery hedge trimmers have pretty much knocked all other products out of the market. Yeah. Just thanks to their sheer runtime and performance. They
no vibration.
Yeah.
No burning.
The line trimmers are half depending on if you're working heavy ground. Then you can reduce your runtime. And blowers. So it depends on the audience, I think, who's looking at it, especially for like the contractors, which we alluded to before. A blower certainly uses a lot of power.
Yeah, yep.
We've got a fantastic chainsaw in our lineup, battery chainsaw, which matches the performance of a petrol chainsaw. But once again, the runtime under load is a lot shorter, I suppose. And especially if you're going out looking to cut wood, you really you either have to take a few batteries out with you to ensure you get enough done, or there's going to be a petrol. And I know people are trying to develop commercial battery chainsaws and the like, but I think that you're really going to struggle to outdo a big commercial petrol chainsaw.
Specific on the runtime side of things?
Runtime and performance. I mean, the performance of the chainsaws are getting better and better. They really are. But like if you've got a 26-inch bar or something like that, and it's doing a big, heavy, a real good hardwood, then I'm not sure. I mean, it's not there yet. I'd be happy to see it.
It's kind of weird because it's like, when will it happen? And I feel like people buy something and they justify a decision whether or not it was actually that good. Say petrol, like maybe a battery thing was the best thing. The petrol head trimmer, say you buy a petrol head trimmer, and someone's like, "Oh, battery's better." So no, because you kind of invested your money.
It depends on a number of things. It depends on the platform, the voltage, etc., as to what you can achieve as well. So the higher the voltage, the more power you can produce. You're putting the batteries under less load, which then in turn keeps them running a bit cooler. One thing about our batteries is it's got area core technology. I'm not sure if you've seen that, where it's similar to another manufacturer on the market, where there's an air gap around each cell so the batteries can remain cooler for longer, because heat's the enemy of a battery. A hot battery, if the batteries are kept in a hot place or running hot on a regular basis, then it does impact the life of the battery. So by us going down that 60 volt platform, the intention behind that was also just to ensure that the battery was not overused or overloaded, or to the point where it's really drawing high amperage and heating up the battery. And so that was one benefit going down that avenue for us.
Well, here's the final question. You were nervous about this, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Has it been that bad?
It's not been too bad.
There we go.
I'll wait till I'll see the outcome of it. But,
everybody, it's like, you kind of have those bad dreams where you feel like, your day went well, and then on review, you might have, come back and everyone's like judging. No, it's all right. No. If people are still listening, they were interested in what you were saying.
Thank you for listening, everyone. So
here's the final question.
Yes.
There's a fire at every Masport factory.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I gave you a warning on this one.
Yes,
right?
You did.
I decided that you were lucky because I gave a few people warning and I decided, no, I'm going to spring it on everybody else.
Yep.
But you were one of the lucky few. There's a fire at every Masport factory, right? And batteries are kept, right? So batteries and chargers are kept because obviously if it was petrol, you wouldn't lose the fuel.
No.
Right? So batteries and chargers are kept. But everything is going to get destroyed, but you get the ability to save one Masport tool, not including barbecues, because you may want the barbecue at the weekend. But so everything from the chipper to the four-wheel drive Rideon mowers to the tractor style to everything.
Yes.
What's the one thing you are saving for the consumer to still be able to purchase?
Without picking on a particular model, it'd have to be a push mower, because that's our strength. That's our baby, I suppose. And we believe we've got one of the best, not if the best, performing chassis on the market with our chassis design. I think it doesn't matter what you put on it, if it's battery, petrol, whatever you decide to power it by. They perform extraordinarily well. So
give me. I know you said you didn't want to pick one model.
Yeah.
What is the one that is going to cover the most people at the price point? It's the one that sits in the middle.
I suppose it's the one I spoke to you about before. Is that President 5000 or the 750 ST? They're both very similar spec with that 850 engine. And the only reason I say that is because I've used that in the past, and I've just had no trouble, and the performance has been fantastic. And I think it can do everyone's lawn and also satisfy a contractor. So I suppose that's my answer to that one.
Do you know what's fascinating about this? Everybody I've asked, nobody has said the same type of piece of gear.
Right.
Someone has said a certain chainsaw. Someone said a stand-on mower. Someone said a a blower. Actually, there's been a handheld blower. There's been a backpack blower.
Yep.
No one has yet said a petrol-powered mower. And I'm getting to the position where by the time I finish this podcast, we probably will have a kit of just about everything.
Yes.
Because no one's really overlapping. And it's
Yep.
quite fascinating. So people, you could go out and buy. It's another way of saying what's your best product, but it's in a slightly different way of putting it, because it's not what is your best specs or what is your, but it's like at its essence, what is the thing that you couldn't do without?
I suppose it's just that mower what's got all the features and bring a broad range of benefits to pretty much anyone who's using the product, and it's just one of those products which gets in and gets the job done without any of the hassle.
I totally understand. And so, anyways, mate, well, thanks for coming on.
No, thank you, Luke. Thanks for having me.
If people, you want to go get some Masport, I mean, you've got a whole bunch of stuff at Bunnings. You got a whole bunch of stuff at local dealers.
Yeah. So we've got a we are in our Bunnings stores, in Mitre 10s and your home hardwares, and we do have a massive following in the specialist dealer market. Mm-hmm. Probably got 400 or 500 dealers around the country who support us. Yeah. Who support our product and back it up with spare parts and the like. So you can't go too wrong buying a Masport. So
hold on a second. One more question as well. Yes. Is where do you get these bloody 4-wheel drive ride-ons from? I've never seen these special orders.
Yeah, those particular ones come out of the Czech Republic. So they're made in the Czech Republic and are designed to run up and down the slopes because they live up in the mountains. So
yeah, we don't have any hills here.
We don't, but
not in Perth. I mean,
but there is uses for them, like if you're working around waterways or areas where it's maybe a bit slippery or can compromise the traction. Then it's something I'd rather have underneath me than something wasn't four-wheel drive. So
I do feel like there was a bunch of people though who'd be keen.
Yeah.
Well, there'd be 3 of them because it's not a very common product.
Yeah,
but there'll be a bunch of people that's like, "What? Masport do it?" Okay, I'm interested now.
Well, if they're interested, they can reach out to Masport and find out who their local dealer is, and we can hook them up.
Well, thanks for coming on, mate.
Thank you, Luke. Pleasure.
And audience, I'll see you in the next podcast.
Thank you.